The home of the common Joe and the common Sally in the know, even more so than all those media talking heads. The article of the day is why Oklahoma is committed to Jeff Lebby, and Jeff Lebby is committed to Oklahoma. And this is why I am a staunch supporter of college sports over any kind of professional sports out there. Because in college sports, the passion and the loyalty and the genuine love of their teams is unmatched by any sports out there. Let's talk about it. During this college football offseason, Santa OCF is going to make a good list and a bad list. And on the good list today, we're going to have, that's right, Jeff Lebby. That's right, Jeff Lebby and his commitment to Oklahoma. But before we get to all that, this is the OCF. That stands for the Outlaw of College Football. Outlaw Posse is riding on in once again. And also on Facebook, under Jesse Paul Clark, spelled Jessc without the I. The acronym for that is JPC. Also on Twitter at OCF Productions. Now, getting right to it here. This is the reason why I think that Oklahoma's 6 and 7 year, that all these gleeful spastics out there that are rejoicing, mostly those Skittle shitters in LA. We all know who they are. Not going to say any names, but Linky Boy might have a little mud on their face in the coming years, because Joe Castiglione, in this article that I found, I think it's Sports Illustrated via All Sooners. In this article, Joe Castiglione says, and I'll throw some graphs up here, that Joe C. and his commitment to his coaching staff is being reflected in the loyalty that Jeff Lebby has shown. And that's very true, because Joe Castiglione has said numerous times that he's going to make sure that his coaching staff's taken care of. And he is committed to them. And that is the first major ingredient that you need to have success. It happened at Clemson. It happened at Alabama with Mal Moore. Back in the day, Mal Moore had to go through a horrendous stretch there. We hired Dennis Franchione, who was doing decent, but then he screwed us. Then we had Mike Price and then Mike Shula, and then we finally got Nick Saban. But Mal Moore was that athletic director that stuck it through when times were rough. And that's exactly what Joe Castiglione is doing. Pretty rough year last year, and even before the year started in the offseason, with all the chatter going around about Lincoln Riley taking shots at Oklahoma throughout the offseason last year, and the stuff that he did before he left Oklahoma and went to USC. So it was a pretty rough year, and Joe C. stuck it out, and he's made sure that he's brought in the staff that he wants and the staff that he wants to be committed to long term. And I think Jeff Lebby and the coaching staff can feel and see that it's very genuine. Jeff Lebby was also a possible target of Nick Saban in the offseason. Now, if he was a target of just some other major power, it'd be different. But this is the guy that's considered the premier coach right now in this era. And if this did happen, it never was confirmed that I don't know if Nick ever actually offered Jeff the job. Some people say he did, some people say he didn't. But regardless, if Nick Saban was even courting you moderately, for Jeff to not even consider it speaks volumes of Jeff Lebby and his commitment to Oklahoma, and bodes well for Oklahoma going into the future and trying to get them back where they need to be. And in this article also, you can see where Jeff and the way he speaks about Oklahoma and how he speaks about the job that he has at Oklahoma, it seems very genuine. It doesn't seem versed. It doesn't seem coached. It doesn't seem like he's saying something to patronize his current employer, because he used the word love very often in this article. As you can see, he says, I love OU. I love Coach V. I love sitting in that chair. I don't take it for granted my family's happy here. I got a chance to chase what I love at the place I went to school. It's uncommon to find that love and trust with people. In other words, he's saying it's worth staying a while, in my opinion. That's the voice of a man saying that he's pretty content where he's at as long as they'll continue to have him. And obviously Joe C is willing to keep him and willing to have him, because he gave him a bump in this offseason, a $100,000 bump, off a 6 and 7 season. You're like, well, why would he do that? Why would he give him a big raise for going 6 and 7? It's called, once again, what's that word, class? That C word. Commitment. And C is also championships and Castiglione. So that commitment that Joe C made before Jeff Lebby ever coached a game, he's seen it through. Joe Castiglione could have been like some of the other athletic directors in the past and been like, you know what, I did say that, but you went 6 and 7. Y'all went 6 and 7. But he didn't do that. He stuck with his commitment, and Jeff Lebby's seen that. And Jeff Lebby, it makes it easy for Jeff Lebby to stay here, considering that Jeff Lebby already loves it at Oklahoma, as he said numerous times. And he went on to say, I think the biggest thing is I've had experiences here. Being back here to me is understanding this is more than just a university. Which to me says that to him, the people, the undying loyalty, the sense of family and belonging is what he's getting from Oklahoma. And that makes it real easy for someone to stay, especially when they're being taken care of financially as well. Once you get to a certain threshold, I think, once you get to like $1 million a year, at some point you're like, if I have choices, and which Jeff does right now, which is something that is rare for people in life, if I got choices, if I can take care of my family financially and be happy where I'm at, I'll just stay here until something much, much, much bigger happens. When they asked him about the possibility of being a head coach, because there's been a lot of chatter about that, he said that, sure, he's honest with his players he recruits. Sure, I'm going to consider being a head coach one day, but not until it's the right time, because what I got here at Oklahoma is something that I'm really enjoying and something that I want to be a part of, and putting my alma mater back where they belong. He even said in an article here, said he has ambitions of getting Oklahoma back to where it needs to be and will continue that way until it happens. That's a pretty strong statement. Basically, he's saying that, hey, Oklahoma's taking care of me. It's not like I'm struggling financially, so I'm going to stay here until it's the absolute right opportunity. Just like Brent Venables did at Clemson. Just like Kirby Smart did at Alabama. Both of those coaches were taken care of very well financially as coordinators, and that allowed them to stay. And a lot of these universities out here, they can take heed to that. Because you don't just need a great head coach, you need a surrounding staff that feels like they're being supported as well. And the similarities of Jeff Lebby, Oklahoma, and Brent Venables to how Clemson and Alabama were built and how they come up is very eerie to me. I mean, especially Nick Saban and Alabama. They started off 7 and 6, which is pretty close to 6 and 7. And Nick Saban, in his second year, got them back to the SEC title game and was within one game of playing for the national title in his second year. And then he did win the national championship in his third year. And even Bob Stoops, another guy who's been a strong influence in Jeff Lebby's career, he started off 7 and 6, and he won the national championship even faster in his second season. So all these people that are being gleefully spastic about the demise of Oklahoma and them going 6 and 7, you might want to do your history because a lot of those coaches that left and left in a shady way, they had moderate success at first, but then they ended up not panning out. I mean, just look at like Rich Rodriguez when he left West Virginia, went to Michigan. Dennis Franchione was real dirty in how he left the program at Alabama and went to Texas A&M and ended up getting run out of there. So, and at first he had a decent season. He did get blowed out in one game, but he still had a decent season the following year. But those people out there in LA, the ones that's been taking shots at Oklahoma all during the offseason last year, and that's the only reason that you got thrown on the grill, y'all might end up long-term being the ones that's being made fun of once again. Because it takes a little bit of building and a little bit of taking a few losses and getting rid of a few people to get where you want long-term. Short-term, sure, USC had a better season, went 11-3 and lost to that powerhouse named Tulane in the Cotton Bowl. But in the long term, I think there may be some apologies coming forth from a lot of those liberal spastics out there on the left coast, like Colin Cowherd, that have basically been railing on Oklahoma for no apparent reason other than that, I don't know why. Why do you feel so threatened by Oklahoma? But we shall see very soon. And I think in the long term, like I said, that the egg is going to be back in the other direction. So have fun with your little shots and your little smack talk while you can, because this kind of loyalty and this kind of commitment that you're seeing from Joe Castiglione and the Oklahoma coaching staff is very reflective of what other great programs went through and ended up being national champions and being contenders each and every year. And that's all I got to say about that. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. Also, there's a heart down here. If you don't mind, hit that. Throw me a few dollars in the coffers. And as always, KMCA to all the other teams. Class now officially dismissed.